All right, the time is 6:30 PM. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please? Here.
Trustees Forsythe.
Here.
Della Penna.
Here.
Domke.
Here.
Kowski.
Here.
Trustee Trejo.
Here.
Trustee Lanisa.
Here.
And we have a quorum. We'll move on to presentation of the prepared agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries. We'll continue on to Village Board public comment. Anyone wishing to provide a comment on a topic or an agenda item may address the Village Board in person during the public comment and public hearing segments of the Village Board agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. The Village Board also adopted the Illinois Municipal League Civility Pledge, which states, in the interest of civility, I pledge to promote civility by listening, being respectful of others, acknowledging that we are all striving to support and improve our community, and understand that we may have different ideas for achieving that objective. With that said, Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment submitted in advance?
We do. First, we have Tom and Roberta Barino.
I'll just ask, as you approach the podium, please just adjust the microphone so everyone here and at home can hear you, and just state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Roberta Barino, and I live at 205 East Walnut in Roselle. I'm here tonight to request the Village Board to do what is procedurally necessary to have the proposed cell tower at Kemmerling Park readdressed by planning and zoning. Yes, a new cell tower is desperately needed in Roselle because of poor coverage in our Kemmerling Park adjacent neighborhood. Today at around 11 a.m., I had 1 bar on my phone, 2 if I put my cell phone on Wi-Fi. We've switched carriers, tried signal boosters, and resorted to taking phone calls in front of our living room picture window. I've even done phone interviews on our front porch just to be able to have a complete conversation. Cell towers are an infrastructure improvement like roads or power lines. Our existing 5 or so towers do not cover the whole village. That needs to be addressed. Better coverage means improved 911 services. This is the safety issue this proposal would address. When your phone is on Wi-Fi, you have to have filed an address with the telecommunications folks in order for a 911 operator to know where to send help. If not on Wi-Fi, 1 bar doesn't always get through when you need it most. The FCC regulates cell tower emissions, and as long as a tower meets these regulations, it is considered safe. The report from Public Works included in the Planning and Zoning meeting packet indicated the cell phone tower met all the needed criteria. Living in an area with good cell phone service is just as important to home values as any of the arguments that folks who don't want to look at the concealed tower, which looks unobtrusive to me in the renderings. Just talk to anyone back on Seam Circle or on the courts off of it who try to work from home. To clarify one point, Verizon came to the Roselle Park District, not the other way around. This is not a situation in which you go out for bids. The P&Z chair should have understood this. This is an opportunity to correct an identified pre-existing problem area you either act on or miss out on. This is also the exact same area that T-Mobile identified way back in 2006. Yes, Wayne will remember that. It was already identified as the most appropriate place to locate a cell tower to address the already identified dead zone. The fact that this opportunity would have brought in $15,000 per month to the Park District over an extended period of time back then versus the $2,000, which is now the average per month rental, is wasted opportunity. Had they had that 2006 revenue stream, the district would have looked a lot different, and going out for referendum may not have been necessary. Decisions based on emotions have consequences, long-standing ones. We can't let that opportunity be wasted again. Your taxes pay for mowing the parks, period. The rest of the revenue generated to run our park district comes from activity and event registrations, as well as grants they actively pursue. Any revenue the Park District can generate above and beyond its tiny portion of your tax assessment brings the community benefit without additional cost to the residents. Again, I ask the village board to do whatever you can to revisit and move forward the proposed cell tower at Kemmerling. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just for the record, the village board will not be taking action on the cell tower or debating it at tonight's meeting. Obviously, the Planning and Zoning Commission did meet on that topic, and we're still looking through that information to decide next steps on what would be the right course of action, so.
David?
Not at this time, I'd say. Thank you, though. Can we have the next public comment?
Please.
Yep, if you, nope, no comment. Okay, thank you so much. Yep, if you just state your name into the microphone for those at home and for the record. Yes, please. I apologize.
Yeah, it was about what Roberta said.
I'm here about the trains and the noise.
Okay,
I live on the the fifth floor, the Inn unit. I can see your house from there,
Mhm.
the mayor's house. But anyway, I've been in the condo now for 5 years. My daughter owns it with me, but she doesn't live with me. I live by myself, basically. But anyway, lately, just lately, the trains are not blowing the horn at 11:07 at last, before I go to bed. They're not. And every once in a while, they do. But I really hope that we could get this passed so that they don't make so much noise. Thank you.
thank you so much. And hopefully, and anyone else who's interested in that topic, will be discussing that under new business. We do have an update on the quiet zone progress that we've been working towards, so we'll have some more information we can share today.
Katrina Braun. Would you like to, I need to speak?
Okay, thank you.
Marty Kaiser, any comment?
Okay, thank you.
Caroline Ventrella, same.
Okay.
And also, Jason Janisek.
All right. Well, we're going to talk more about train noise. I will say we do have a second opportunity for public comment after that report. So when we call that out, we can go through the list for anyone that had train noise listed. And if you guys would like to submit comment at that point, we'll hear you then as well. We'll also have it open again. So if anyone wants to be recognized at that time, you'll have an opportunity as well. So is there anyone else who did not submit a slip that wishes to be recognized to give a public comment? Sure. If you just come on up and state your name for the record.
Siri Hansen. I just wanted to give a little quick personal experience with the cell phone issue. I do live in the dead zone. For the past 25 years, I've had really bad coverage. Not one bar, but no bars, that SOS signal on my phone. I did go through AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, just like Roberta. They did the boosters, and it didn't make any difference. I've had Verizon for about a year now, and it was doing great. And the problem is beginning again. Unintelligible sound on one or both ends, no sound on one or both ends, and drop calls. It does disrupt my personal business, like trying to call doctors, service companies, insurance companies, et cetera. But I do make business calls, and repeatedly I've had to call someone back 7 times within an hour for the business call. And unlike Roberta, I've actually had to drive out of the neighborhood and talk on my car. My husband and I are 72 years old, so far we have not needed an ambulance or emergency services, but I want to know that I can successfully make those calls just like other Roselle residents can do who have proper service. We have children in our neighborhood, and those parents also need that safety. As was said before, we pay our taxes like all other residents, and we should have that basic need met. I live one house down from the water treatment plant, so I understand that we all have to put up with certain aesthetic compromises due to the good of our neighbors, but we all need clean water, and I live by the plant. I would never want to put any children at risk at a cell tower. Neither do I want firefighters who live in the firehouse near a cell tower to be at risk. Now, we all have to rely on cell phones as our primary communication method, and we all should have that right. My own personal research also shows that cell towers are less dangerous than actually using the cell phone itself. I'm happy to pass on what I have found in terms of safety issues. I respectfully ask that we reconsider this so that we're all capable of being safe and carrying out our daily business throughout the village. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I believe, did I see another hand that wanted to submit public comment? Yep, if you just come on up to the podium and state your name for the record. Terry, yep. I totally understand. You're good. Not a problem.
My name is Terry Erickson. I just have two very quick public comments. First of all, I want to thank the Roselle Police Department, Fire Department, and Village for an exceptional National Night Out event. I really appreciated the enthusiasm of the workers and the attendees. I appreciated the theme and the games and all the presentations that both the fire department and the police department did. It was both interesting, informative, and fun. All the things you want an event to be to a pretty nice crowd. I really, really appreciated it, and I want to let everybody know that. Thank you very much on that one. The second comment, very, very, very quickly. I have a couple other public comments that I would like to make, but I realized that when I watched myself on the last one, while I was holding a piece of paper in front of my face to be able to read it, I was blocking the microphone. I do not wish to make public comments that way anymore. It's embarrassing to me because I have to do it that way, but it's also non-helpful because then the audio gets blocked out. So I will just very quickly say, I would really, really, really appreciate it if the village and or the board would find some way that the public can submit, let's say, an MP4 video, because we have monitors and technology to support that, so that we could pre-create our content, making sure we don't exceed the time. And pictures, as they say, are worth 1,000 words. Instead of describing a tree, we can show you a picture of the tree. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave because of this, but otherwise I would stick around. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Is there any other members of the public that wish to address the board at this time? Yep, sir, if you just come on up and state your name for the record.
Mark Sukowitz, I live on Seams Circle. Been in Roselle before cell phones existed. Had no coverage then, have very little coverage now. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment tonight? Seeing none, we'll continue on with our agenda. Under officials and staff reports, I'd just like to thank everyone and especially the Lions Club for a fantastic Taste to Roselle weekend. I think we had some of the best weather yet, and I'm allowed to say that now since it's over. So, we're continuing to see that we had record-breaking crowds in that regard. So, and with record-breaking crowds comes more mess. So, appreciate everyone's patience as we kind of clean up the area from all the fun that was had. So, thank you again to the Lions Club. Carrying on with what was shared earlier by Terry, just want to thank our police department for a wonderful national night out. I think for our second night, we had a much better weather, which it was very helpful and whatnot. And it sounds like everyone had a lot of fun. And so thank you again for all the effort on there and whatnot. And disappointed I missed that, but was very honored to be in Champaign last week for the Governor Egger Fellows Program, which brings 40 people from across the state together to discuss policy initiatives and how we can continue to lead the state of Illinois better. So that was a fantastic opportunity to network for myself, as well as just to hear from policy experts from across a number of industries and whatnot. So looking forward to sharing that information with the community as we continue on. So those are my reports for this meeting. Any village trustees have a report tonight? Trustee Domke?
I just wanted to mention something to the group here that's came for this cell tower thing. We happen to have another event, that National Night Out, on that Tuesday that you guys had the P&Z meeting. Because I know I would have preferred maybe to go to the P&Z meeting, but we have another great event at the same day. But and I think maybe from the other board members too, maybe that's the reason we didn't show up. But we knew that it was going to be something to be contested about. So it wasn't that we were trying to stay away. We just had another event.
It is on YouTube now if anybody wants to watch it. That meeting is on YouTube.
How do you get on YouTube? Do I have to use my password or anything?
No, no password at all. Any other village trustee reports tonight? See none, village clerk. Village attorney? Village administrator. All right, then we'll continue on to unfinished business. First, we have the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, and non-controversial in nature and will be enacted in one motion. There'll be no discussion of these items unless removed from the consent agenda. Are there any items to remove from the consent agenda tonight? Let the record show none. And tonight we have presentation approval of the village board minutes of July 20th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved. Second.
Could we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Trejo?
Aye.
Trustee Domke?
Aye.
Trustee Lanisa?
Aye.
Trustee Delapenna?
Aye.
Forsythe?
Aye.
Kukowski?
Aye. That motion carries. We'll continue on with our other agenda items, starting with development and engineering services. Trustee Forsythe.
Thank you, Mayor Pileski. I would like to move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for the 2025 Storm Sewer Improvement Program between the Village of Roselle and Scanlon Excavating and Concrete, Inc. in the amount of $300,000.
Second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Aye.
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 Trustee Delapenna?
Aye.
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 That motion carries.
I would like to move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for Phase 1 design engineering services for the Lawrence Avenue and Plum Grove Road improvements between the Village of Roselle and Civil Tech Engineer, Inc. in the amount of $208,959.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries.
Next, I would like to move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for design engineering services for the 2026 Water Main and Sanitary Sewer Improvement Program between the Village of Roselle and Engineering Enterprises, Inc. in the amount of $161,183.
Second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, can we have a roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Domke?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Delapenna?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries.
Next, I would like to move to adopt a resolution approving the appropriation of funds from the Special Tax Allocation Fund for the Village of Roselle, Roselle-Nergy redevelopment project area.
Second. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Delapenna?
Aye.
That motion carries.
And lastly, I would like to move to adopt a resolution approving the appropriation of funds from the Special Tax Allocation Fund for the Village of Roselle, Irving Central redevelopment project area.
Second. Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Domke?
Aye. Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you so much, Trustee Forsythe. That was a busy night for you. So administration, fire, police, public works, we have nothing but finance. Trustee Lanisa.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the accounts payable list for August 11th, 2025 in the amount of $1,153,590.18.
Second.
Any discussion on that item? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Aye.
Trustee
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. We will continue on to new business and I think our marquee event, the update on the establishment of a downtown 24-hour quiet zone and provide direction on the layout options that have been provided. We'll have our village administrator, Jason Blasky, and right on cue.
Yeah.
Can't write better. Couldn't have.
We're working on that.
Yeah, it's fine. Not a problem.
All right, let me close out here and pull up my agenda item. So before the board tonight is an update on the establishing a 24-hour quiet zone in the downtown covering Roselle, Prospect, and Park Streets. As quick background, as you know, as part of the merger in 2023 between CP and KC Railroads, there is a requirement set forth in that merger approval that requires CPKC to fund the creation, implementation, including installation costs of a quiet zone in Roselle.
So since then, we've been working with all parties to try to advance the creation of a quiet zone forward as quick as possible. I think as the board knows, the railroad is owned by Metra. It is their property. Any improvements on their property, like any other private property, requires the property owner's approval. So we have been working diligently with Metra to get them to tell us what it would take for them to approve a quiet zone. Currently, the quiet zone is basically a pre-rule quiet zone that is from midnight or maybe 11:07 p.m. Between midnight and 5 a.m. And typically that is when Metra trains don't run. So that's probably the history of it, is primarily when Metra stops servicing, then there's no horns. Given the increased railroad freight train traffic as a result of the merger, certainly we've seen more trains come through town. Those numbers continue to increase a bit. So up until, so since March of 2023, it took us over a year to really get a meeting scheduled with all parties, to have a diagnostic meeting where all stakeholders, state, federal, local, walked the railroad line, did its analysis to identify safety improvements necessary to meet, to establish a quiet zone. The theory is the horn is a safety measure. The horn goes away. You need to replace that with safety measures. And typically, so that's really what we'll talk about tonight, are what are those options that Metra has proposed to establish a quiet zone here. So we reviewed kind of a list of options that they presented to us, met with CPKC, Metra, as well as the Illinois Commerce Commission, who has jurisdiction over rail lines-ish, not so much over Metro rail lines, Metra-owned rail lines like ours, but they do have a role in train safety, so they had a seat at the table as well. And to talk about kind of amongst all those parties, kind of the preferred quiet zone layout. In my memo, so is sort of where the group has landed currently. And it was on me to come back to you all, give you an update, and determine if this preferred layout is something that we can proceed forward with, since this was really just done at the staff level. So starting, I guess before I get into that, any questions before I kind of get into the three crossings? Great. So starting with Roselle Road, really looking to treat that like Rodenberg Road. Rodenberg Road has a 100-foot non-traversable median, so a raised median, cement, have kind of reflectors in the middle, basically preventing people from going around down gates. So that's kind of the intent of them. They're placed in the roadway where they basically abut the down gate, so you can't go around the gates. So under federal law, if we were subject to federal jurisdiction for our quiet zone, which we know we're not, the 100-foot is what they deem a supplemental safety measure. So it's basically automatically qualifies as a safety measure under FRA. That is why it's on Rodenberg Road. That is why Metra wants this. Their position really has been, treat this as if this was going through the FRA process and only accept what the FRA would accept. So 95 feet is not 100 feet, 65 feet, not enough. 100 is kind of that minimum. So that's why this is being kind of recommended for Roselle Road. The implications of that is it would eliminate the ability to make left-hand turn movements in the central auto body's kind of rear entrance, which is technically Metra right away that they have an easement for, as well as into BP gas station. So those entrances would have to be kind of right in, right out, only for for southbound traffic on Roselle Road. That's kind of the implication of that preferred layout at Roselle Road. That is county jurisdiction road. We've also met with county staff to kind of preview with them kind of this, and their initial reaction was they were not opposed to what was being recommended here as long as the village supported it. Moving along then to Prospect Street. Prospect Street, kind of the prevailing interest there is to close Prospect Street to vehicular traffic and make it a pedestrian crossing only. And kind of the rationale there is, again, kind of if this were a federal quiet zone, eliminating at-grade crossings reduces risk, right? It just removes traffic movements, which is what quiet zones and establishing those supplemental safety measures are all about. So Metro supports closing grade crossings whenever possible, so does Freight. There's potential additional funding that could come along with that when you close crossings. So having three basically within probably less than a quarter mile, closing one of them, I felt, at least from staff's perspective, could be acceptable. So that's kind of why it's in there. Then moving along to Park Street, that is where we're recommending a 4-quadrant gate. So there you have 2 gates on either side of the tracks instead of right now only 1. So that, again, prevents the vehicles from trying to go around because there would not be a median there. There's not 100 feet. There's not enough to satisfy the 100 feet, given kind of the dimensions of Park Street. So along with those kind of what we call at-grade crossings, the raised medians, and keeping the existing 2 gates on Roselle Road, the closing of Prospect to vehicular, but allowing pedestrian, and then Park Street, the 4-quadrant. In addition to that, Metro is also looking for improvements at all 3 crossings relative to pedestrian, ADA compliance, as well as pedestrian gates. If you see now, depending on where you go, you see them at a lot of different crossings throughout kind of the railroad network in the suburban area. So you would have separate gates for crosswalks. You would have that sign often that says, you know, another train coming or train on its way, because we have 2 lines, right? So they could be going opposite directions. So there's, you know, the technology to alert people that there's a train coming in the opposite direction. So don't just cross the tracks when you see one train pass. And then some of the kind of audible warnings and other improvements that sort of come along with those types of improvements. Finally, because eliminating the horn makes, you know, kind of increases risk, where Metro would also like to ensure that some of the physical barriers along the rail lines are enhanced, so that people don't, right now, are probably trained to hear a train horn. And now if that goes away, they think they could cross the tracks, which where they would likely be trespassing. So trying to put in additional fencing along the rail line, really to prevent unauthorized access to the rail line, because as Metros and both railroads expressed, that's often one of the leading killers, is when people are illegally on the tracks and being struck by trains. So those are kind of in totality, everything that is necessary to establish a quiet zone in Metro's eyes. CPKC understands that, and there's nothing here necessarily that's a deal breaker. I've presented in there kind of, so right now CPKC is leading sort of the engineering design of this. They're required to do that. So they have some really concepts that we've spoken about. So they have some loose cost estimates right now of about $2.5 million for kind of the layout that I spoke about. Before I go to alternatives that were considered, I don't know if there's any questions regarding kind of what's being recommended.
We'll go Trustee Lanisa, Domke, and then Della Penna.
Is the 2.5 million required to be paid for by the village or by the CP?
Right. Yep. So it's my position that CPKC is required to fund the installation costs. So right now, that to me is all their costs. They've put different price tags to different kind of layout options. But that's right now to be borne by CPKC 100%.
And I will say, if they try to back out, I am going to try to fight to earn and get every dollar we can from federal and state legislators, because I think it's not fair to pass that on to us. So one way or another, I think I will be dedicated to trying to find funding for it. So, Mr. Hopke.
4 things. 2 are just comments. First of all, Jason, you've kind of taken the leadership on this train issue, even when the merger and all that. So I got to applaud you for doing that and hanging in there for doing all this. The second thing is closing Prospect is actually a safety concern, because of that dog leg over there at Irving where people are trying to go north on Prospect from south on Prospect is a very dangerous thing, and we haven't had anything happen there, but it's always a scary moment. So those are two good things. Now, I want to ask you, because you're going to put a quadrant of gates on Park, why wouldn't that be an option on Roselle Road? And then you don't have the delineators
Yep.
affecting traffic.
So it is an option. So that was, an option is installing 4 quadrant gates at every crossing. So I think
It's a $5,000 or $6,000 expense to us yearly, but
potentially Metra may require the village to enter into an agreement that requires us to fund for the future maintenance of that. I kind of asked them what that meant, and they kind of threw out that number of 500,000 to 600,000 each annually was kind of their number. So 4 quadrant is certainly the most expensive route to go.
you don't affect the traffic as much as you would with the delineators.
Correct, that you wouldn't restrict the left-hand turn movement. So
Yes, they might lose business with losing the turn.
yeah, I think some people probably think that turn is unsafe now, particularly with
And it is too.
vehicles can sometimes, as you come over the hump, right, you could not realize there's a car and now you're stuck on the tracks. So I think in the perfect world, we may want to restrict that left-hand turn movement at now.
I'll buy that. And
Yeah.
my
But
fourth
the
one-
cost was, so it's really the cost for 4 quadrant. Overall risk reduction, kind of value of what you're spending isn't as much because you keep one of those at-grade crossings open. And it probably would just take longer to implement that, I suspect, because of the equipment. It's all
If they're picking up
cost.
cost, I mean.
Well, I think
Correct.
the big thing I would say is the merger said they had to pay reasonable costs. So if there's one option that's 100 grand and there's another option that's 500,000, what's the reasonable cost, right? And I think that's where we,
100. Last one, okay? So long ago and far away, we were told that the crossing at the train station, the pedestrian crossing, was going to affect the cost of all of this too. Do we have to take that into consideration during this quiet zone perspective here?
No.
So that's off the table. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, at one point, it may have been on the table, depending on if Medina Road was included in the quiet zone.
Do they have to upgrade that pedestrian crossing at the?
No, that has not been identified by Metra as a requirement as part of this quiet zone for the 3 at-grade crossings. Pedestrian crossings technically don't sort of fall under a quiet zone. It's about at-grade vehicular crossings. So if there's a desire to improve that there, that would likely be on Metra to do, but it has not come up as part of our conversation.
Mhm.
And we've asked explicitly to them about that, and they've said, no improvements are required at the station for a quiet zone in downtown.
Thank you.
Trustee Del Pena?
Just looking for a little more particulars, I guess I would say, on the Prospect Street crossing, what it would look like. I mean, is it going to be closed at Main Street going north?
Yeah,
Will
so.
there'll be access from Irving Park, or is it going to be
Yeah.
closed at Irving Park?
So we kind of need, that would be the next step, is to really flush out the design because we just have concepts. But conceptually, what was proposed was basically just consider the extension of kind of the existing on-street parking in that curb line going all the way across on the south side of the tracks. So it would be a T intersection basically with Prospect, so you could just go east or west on Main. Right now, they've identified the existing sidewalk on the west side of the crossing, so there's one by Mangy Dog and there's one by IPK. They've identified the IPK one as the one that would kind of become the pedestrian crossing. So then on the north side, again, it'd be a curb, an unmountable curb, likely fencing up until kind of the pedestrian crossing, and both fencing on either side as well, so you can only cross at the pedestrian crossing. What Prospect Street will look like between Irving and the tracks, we don't really know. I don't know what kind of parking that can be, because right now it's kind of
Right.
angled depending on which direction you're going. So those are some of the things that we need to work with their engineers to actually better visualize for us, to truly understand what kind of parking can be achieved based on parking standards and design standards. So though that's really the next phase, I would say, because some of that ADA stuff, they really need to probably survey, get out there and really determine the extent of some of the work that needs to be done. But hopefully that kind of gives you a general idea that you could still come in off Irving onto Prospect.
For a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, get to IPK's parking lot that way. Hopefully there's still some on-street parking on Prospect, and then you could continue to use the alley like you do now and go out to park. Because there's 4 quadrant, then you could leave that alley and go north or south on Park like you can now. So that kind of movement doesn't really change for the businesses, for the delivery services and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Trustee Domke?
So inquiring minds want to know, what is this, a couple of years before it happens? What's our guess?
Yeah, so I am meeting with, I
Let's,
asked,
before you even answer it took us 8 years to get to this point, which I don't wanna sandbag this any more than anyone else, but like,
Okay.
I just wanna give a reality yardstick. But yes, as soon as humanly possible, but that might not be.
prior conversations with Metra, I recall them telling me 36 months. I spoke with CPKC and asked them if you could do the work. They told me it would take them about 9 months. So I am meeting with Metra on Wednesday, and I have asked them very specific questions around timeline. Could some of these improvements be made sooner than later? As far as can they all have to be done at once? Could we move forward with some of these improvements if we wanted to? Just to show that we're continuing to move towards establishing a quiet zone. So we can plan around some of this stuff accordingly. So more to come after Wednesday. They requested a meeting to further discuss that.
Would we have to front the money or would they provide them?
Yeah, right now, I don't see the Village of Roselle having to contribute anything towards this. It's not a reimbursable thing. I need to try to learn as much as they're willing to teach me about the relationship between Metra and CPKC now, because I know there's existing agreements in place regarding work. We know how it works with Metra and work on their railroad line when like at the train station. And there's a lot of time that it takes to sometimes get what in our eyes are small projects done. But it's their property. We have to be sensitive to their timelines. We appreciate that they've put in writing what it will take to establish a quiet zone. And I'm going to try to get from them a timeline that is quick, but, acknowledges that they tend to take longer than most entities.
Closer than we've ever been.
Yeah.
It's palpable. If not deafening. Any other comments or questions from the board? All right, Jason?
So I will be meeting, so I will continue then to proceed forward with this layout. We'll continue with the kind of quiet zone stakeholders and now expand out to some businesses along the corridor here to show them this and to kind of get their feedback, and we'll continue to provide updates to the board as necessary.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And we just have 2 more things, then we'll be back at public comment. So if you'd like to stick around, you may. If not, that's totally fine. I understand. So we've got consideration of a municipal ticket amnesty program. So we'll have our Assistant Village Director, George Pappas, presenting tonight. So
Thank you. Currently, we have 2 methods of collecting municipal tickets. We use a local debt recovery program, which garnishes tax returns on defendants that owe us money. And then we also use a collection agency to also get those collections in. In 2023, in those 2 avenues, we received $40,800. In 2024, that dropped to about $29,000. And then this year through July, we're up to about $19,000, on track to hit our 2024 numbers again. So we do very well with those 2 methods. But tonight we are proposing a ticket amnesty program to help accelerate that process. As of 12/31/2024, looking back 7 years, we had 2,345 tickets outstanding with a total receivables of $578,000. I'll bring you guys current to today at 8/1/2025. Looking back 7 years, that 2,345 number of tickets dropped to 2,319, so it's relatively the same. And then the amount of receivables went from 578 to 5. So we're pretty much the same as what you guys were given today in tonight's memos and also the agenda. Staff proposed 2 amnesty scenarios to the Finance Committee. The first was a tiered approach where tickets that were outstanding for a longer period of time would be at a higher rate than more current ones. And the second scenario was reducing the tickets to their original amount. Finance Committee approved the second scenario of reducing the fines to the original amounts. This approach works well with our ticket software. We easily can go into that software, reduce these down to the original amount. It makes it easy for payment purposes online and things of that nature. And then once the amnesty program expires, it's easy to roll those tickets back to the amount that they're at today. Staff also proposed to the Finance Committee outsourcing to a professional printing company, printing of letters, envelope stuffing, and postage application for letters to be sent to these defendants with their ticket information and also the amount owed. Finance Committee was in support of outsourcing that service, and I'll get to a couple of figures here on how much that'll be here in a second. So going back up to that number I provided a couple of minutes ago with the outstanding tickets of 578,000. If we do reduce those down to their original amount, that's about $150,000 of outstanding debt. We do have a contract with our collection agency where we would owe them a 25% fee on anything collected, so that amounts about $37,000. And then with the postage and outsourcing of the printing, that's another $2,500. So at 100% collection, we could potentially receive just over $109,000 if everyone was to pay those tickets. So should the board concur with staff's recommendation to move forward with the amnesty program, following steps would be proposed tonight. On Monday, October 20th, a letter will be mailed directly to these defendants, again, outlining what tickets they owe and the amount. Communication from the village will come through all of our communication channels, website, social media, things of that nature. And then also our collection agency has agreed to do a text campaign for us directly to these people because they have them on file, they have their phone numbers. So they would help assist us with that process. Staff is recommending that the amnesty period run from Friday, October 31st to the end of the day, Monday, December 1st. So essentially giving them a month of November. The reason we're doing this close to the end of the year is we do want to move folks that have not joined us on the amnesty program back to their original amount, because then it puts them back at that original amount for the iDrop program of the local debt recovery. They do their tax returns. So we want to do this towards the end of the year and wrap it up in a 1 month period, essentially. So with that being said, is there any questions on what we're proposing?
Trustee Lanise or Forsythe, being the Finance Planning Committee, anything you want to add to that, or?
No, I think you've explained it very well as to, we went through these options. It took us quite a while doing that, but I think putting it back to the original amount for the collections instead of people paying 2 and 3 times because of the interest that is accumulated, I think it makes sense to, we would still be getting what the original ticket was, and we can put this to rest. Make it easier on staff as well.
Other questions or comments from the board? Trustee Domke?
I'm really happy you said it's like 1 month. And then after the month, it reverts back to the old way again.
To the original amount
Everybody's-
it's at today.
Really are going to be incentivized to take this opportunity in 1 month. I got to ponder, why are they not paying their tickets? Why are they taking the fines as opposed to paying? Because it's just going to continue on after you clear the books. The next round will be the same way. Nobody's paying their tickets, or that, I shouldn't say it that way. You know, very few percentage of people are paying their tickets according to the data here.
Yeah, we have a good number of people. We do issue quite a few tickets. So there's people that do pay their tickets, but yeah, that is correct. We do send them to the collection agency and they help us with that process. Some of these folks don't file a tax return either or don't get a tax return, so we don't see money from the local debt recovery program. But if they do, we do get a portion of it, sometimes not the full amount, but it stays on their books at the state. So if they were to file again the following year, we can still collect on that.
Well, I am in favor of this proposal.
I am too.
All right.
I'm good.
All right, you got consensus from the board, so thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I know you're up here for the second one, so we'll save you some time, but so consideration of changes to the municipal hotel tax.
Right, so the village currently imposes a municipal hotel tax of 5% on gross receipts. This revenue is used to fund the tourism fund. The original ordinance was passed in 1986 and amended in 1994. This was well before we had short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO, booking sites, and re-renters that came into being recently. The draft ordinance provides amendments to the current code to impose a 5% hotel tax on the entities I just mentioned prior. This help us level the playing field a little bit and capture that tax. One thing I do want to note as I wrap up here, it should be noted that effective July 1st, 2024, the state expanded the Illinois hotel operators occupation tax to include re-renters. So they've done this previously, so it's being done at the state level, like we're trying to accomplish here today.
Great. Any questions or comments from the board on this one?
I'm all for it.
Consensus move forward as directed? All right, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, that covers all of our new items. We do have a second opportunity for village board public comment. So, Madam Clerk, if we could just run through the people who had train noise listed, and if you guys would like to come up, and then otherwise we'll open it up again to anyone as well, but.
Jacek Janusik. Well,
Okay,
Caroline Ventrella,
great. Don't want to make any assumptions, so.
Artie Kaiser,
Hopefully, fingers crossed. There you go.
We'll make an event. We'll make a village event, the train quiet zone.
Katrina
Yes.
Braun. And we already heard from Mary Farrell and Pat Priestley.
All right, and is there any member of the public present that would like to make a comment at this time? Yeah, if you just come up to the podium and just state your name for the record. That's okay.
Barbara Schremser is my name. I am a board member at Park Street Crossing. All I want to do is just say thank you. It has been less than a year since we started talking about the quiet zone. I personally, and so many of the people back there from Park Street, I'm sure I can speak for them, are just amazed at how quickly you've moved on what we asked you, and you've come up with what certainly appears to me to be a real viable solution. So thank you. Thank you a lot. Good job.
Thank you so much. Are there any other members? Yeah, perfect. Any other members of the public wish to address the board at this time? Seeing none, is there any other business for discussion only from the board tonight? I'd like to entertain a motion then to convene executive session for the purpose to discuss real property and personnel. No final action will be taken from this meeting, and we will be adjourning from executive session. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Aye.
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 Aye.